So if this world is temporary,
Yeah.
identity is an illusion,
Yeah.
then everything is meaningless, and it doesn't matter if Fuse patrolling. That's got me very confused.
No, it matters. It matters. It matters. Look, Tommy. See, this is a universe, and that's our galaxy over here.
What universe?
What universe? This.
What?
Tommy,
This?
Come on. Yeah.
Come on, there's dust and gas there.
Yeah.
There's us over here, and good and bad luck in the middle. That's chaos. That's my beat.
Tommy, everything is connected and everything matters. There is not an atom in our bodies that has not been forged in the furnace of the sun. Now, isn't that cool?
So you need to be aware of that nothingness, the nothingness that lies behind your eyes, because it is within that nothingness that lies consciousness. And it's all connected. It's connected to ourselves, it's connected to each other, and it's connected to everything in the universe. You need to open your minds to see this, and once you've seen it, the more you can begin to realize it, and the more you realize it, you can quite literally feel it physically. It's like a warmth and a rise in frequency in your body, the true realization that there is no other, there is only one. And all that truly exists within that singularity is love.
I'll make it simple. I believe that my purpose here on earth is to be a better spirit and a better person and a better soul. And I gear my life all towards that goal, to be better at what I do, to be a better son, to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better person in general. And I think the only true goal of our souls is to be at one with God, and so I constantly want to be at one with God. Now, what is God? I don't know. I couldn't possibly have the answer, but I know that God is beyond definition, is beyond form, is beyond, I laugh at the idea of God being a man with a penis, with a white beard, I laugh at the idea of God being definable. I laugh at religion only because it wants to categorize God with human elements. It wants to say that God is an angry God and a jealous God and a vengeful God and a giving God and a loving God. God is only love.
The only way we're ever going to get over this hump of existence is if we drop all the bullshit, and the one law that we should all recognize, the one thing that we should all practice, is the ideal that you are me and I am you, and we are living completely different lives, but inside the body, inside the being of what it is. When you think of you, I could easily be you. I could easily be my mother. I could easily be this asshole that lives down the street from me that I can't talk to because he's dumb. It could be this guy. I could be that guy. I could be bored here. It's just some crazy situation where we may all be the very same thing, living through different epochs, living through different biological identities, living through different genetics and different social circumstances, but at the root of it all, we could be the same fucking thing, and we essentially are.
Yeah.
We essentially are.
For sure.
It's our own individual experiences that confuse the fuck out of us.
How can you not love all other people when they're all you? And when you realize that all the divisions between us are an illusion. Once people realize the truth of this, well, then the entire system of control we live under simply breaks down. And how do you do it, and where do you start? Well, you do it by realizing that we are all one. There is no other, and you do it by doing what is right in everything. Rather than doing what is right for yourself personally, or what is right for the company, or what is appropriate for the occasion, or even what the law requires, you just do what is right. All the time, in everything. Realize and truly understand that when you do the wrong thing, the person who must suffer the consequences is simply a mirror of yourself. So all you have done is hurt yourself, and you have divided just a little bit further both society and the one consciousness that we're all part of.
part of my investigation?
Yes. Say this blanket represents all the matter and energy in the universe, okay? You, me, everything. Nothing has been left out, all right? All the particles, everything.
What's outside this blanket?
More blankets, that's the point.
Blanket's everything.
Exactly. This is everything, okay? Let's just say that this is me, right? And I'm, 60-odd years old, and I'm wearing a gray suit, blah, blah, blah. And let's say over here, this is you, and you're, I don't know, you're 21, you got dark hair, etc. And over here, this is Vivian, my wife and colleague. And then over here, this is the Eiffel Tower, right? It's Paris. And this is a war, and this is a museum, and this is a disease, and this is an orgasm, and this is a hamburger.
Everything is the same, even if it's different.
Exactly. But our everyday mind forgets this. We think everything is separate, limited. I'm over here, you're over there, which is true. But it's not the whole truth, because we're all connected.
Be a good person, be a cool person, be fun to hang out with, be nice to people. You can push out that positive energy, and it's not fruity and it's not weak. It's love, and you have to be strong to really put out love. And you can really put that out. And you can put that out to 500,000 people or 1 million people, and they realize that, and they become accustomed to this wave, and that's the shit that can change the world. The shit that can change the world is people just accepting a different operating system, accepting a different wavelength.
The vampire in your life. Find the life-sucking situation that you're afraid to kill. And the reason I say vampire is because vampires only go where they're invited. And generally, the situation that you're in, you invited it in. You invited this thing into your life, and now it's sucking your life energy and your blood and your happiness away. A lot of times, you'll try to believe, you'll try to convince yourself that this thing is not a vampire. But in your heart, you know you're a servant to a fucking bloodsucker. You're a Renfeld. This thing is like sucking your life essence away. Sometimes it's doing it with a trade. Quite often, there'll be a bad trade. You'll be, whatever the situation you're in, you'll feel like you're in the situation. It's worth it. It's kind of bad, but it's totally worth it. This happens with jobs quite often, where you're like, well, but it's good enough. That's the vampire. You gotta take a fucking stake and drive it into its heart. How do you kill a vampire? 2 ways. Direct action. You don't kill a vampire by making up with a vampire. You don't kill a vampire by having a sit-down talk with a vampire. You're not gonna be able to make friends with a vampire. There's 2 ways to kill a vampire. One, you fucking, put a stake in its heart. The other one is light, sunlight, truth, light. It's the greatest metaphor of all time.
You know what's so elegant about this little game, Jake? Nobody knows where the enemy is. They don't even know he exists. He's in every one of their heads. And they trust him. Because they think they are him. If you try to destroy him to save them, they'll destroy you to save him. It's beautiful, man. You have to admire the opponent's elegance. Check.
And conspiracy theory, in my humble opinion, I'm somewhat immune to paranoia. So those of you who aren't, gaze in wonder. conspiracy theory is a kind of epistemological cartoon about reality. I mean, isn't it so simple to believe that things are run by the Greys and that all we have to do is trade sufficient fetal tissue to them and we can solve our technological problems? Or isn't it comforting to believe that the Jews are behind everything, or the Communist Party, or the Catholic Church, or the Masons? Well, these are epistemological cartoons. It's, kindergarten stuff in the art of amateur historiography. I believe that the truth of the matter is far more terrifying. That the real truth that dare not speak itself is that no one is in control. Absolutely no one. You don't understand Monica, you don't understand Netanyahu. It's because nobody is in control. This stuff is ruled by the equations of dynamics and chaos. Now, there may be entities seeking control, the World Bank, the Communist Party, the rich, somebody others, but to seek control is to take enormous aggravation upon yourself, because this process that is underway will take the control freak by the short and curly and throw them against the wall. It's like trying to control a dream, you see.
Life is what you make it, so everything's a blank canvas, I tend to see things more always towards the positive than towards the negative. I try not to focus on not being against something, but being for something. So I'm for the individual. I'm for expression, whatever that means. You know what I mean? And it's not always going to work because we're all so different and have different cultures and different backgrounds. You know what I mean? So where I see something as freedom, somebody else will see it as, might see it as, them stepping on their toes in some way or in disregard. You know what I mean? But I just, to me, those rules don't even exist. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's like a sort of, you can create your own path.
Such a big fan of Joseph Campbell and the sort of monomyth of the hero's journey. Yeah. See, think of the hero's journey. We think so literally. So we're like, obviously a geographical journey. Like if you go on a safari and you climb Kilimanjaro, you will go through all the steps: a departure from the ordinary, overcoming obstacles, having a catharsis and realization, and making the return. But we need to apply that metaphor internally. This podcast session is a Joseph Campbell-esque hero's journey. Person puts on the headphones and it's a departure.
Who's the prince and who's the princess?
No.
I just want to know.
We don't
We're
need
going on the hero's journey.
No, but think this is the hero's journey. It follows the steps. It's a departure from the ordinary. We're partaking in conversations that are maybe not your everyday conversations. We're overcoming obstacles in the sense that we're challenging preconceived truths and questioning ourselves and asking difficult questions and thinking new thoughts. So that's the obstacles, and then we're transcending and overcoming the resistance that we have to change into new ways of thinking. And then we're having, hopefully, the catharsis. Hopefully, sometime during this journey, we have a really profound realization that changes us both and somebody listening to forever. And then we make the return, which is to say, I love that. I want to share that with my community. I'm going to tweet it. I'm going to Facebook it. So if you apply that metaphor of the hero's journey, you try to make parts of your life significant hero's journey. I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to be like, today, I'm going to depart from the ordinary. I'm going to put myself in uncomfortable situations. I'm going to transcend those boundaries. I'm going to have a new realization. I want this day to mean something, and then make the return cheer.
Right, but what if that day you got like a bunch of shit you need to get done?
You listen to this podcast,
like,
and it happens because it can happen in your brain too.
Right.
I'm going to read this book tonight. I'm going to, check out this interesting documentary.
It's definitely
1 hour
good
a day is
to
enough.
expose yourself to different things.
Absolutely.
That's why I really get into finding Bigfoot.
This universe that we live in is truly created by our intent and our emotions. We quite literally create this universe ourselves. And if anyone has a doubt that the universe is holographic in nature, you've just got to look to quantum physics. If you want to see a physicist run from the room in horror, just ask them about the measurement problem. If you don't know what the measurement problem is, the measurement problem is the problem that when a physicist goes to measure the size of an atom, he finds that the electrons are spread out to infinity. They can't be measured. And it isn't until he actually goes to measure the atom, the physical act of him measuring the atom causes these electrons to coalesce and form the atom. The act of observation creates the atom. Now this is physical proof that we create the universe simply by observing it. So the universe is whatever we perceive it to be. If we perceive it to be a universe where the New World Order is going to win and terrible things are going to happen to the Earth, then they will indeed happen. If the powers that be can convince enough people that terrible things are going to happen in the future, then these things will happen because we will make them happen with our consciousness, with our belief that they are going to happen.
Art is a term that people use in a very bourgeois context, which is a lot of artists look down their nose, no? Sure. And they say the football player. I'm an artist who's a football player. Right. I think we're all creating and we're all trying to express ourselves no matter what we're doing. Some people do it through destruction, some people do it through sex, some people do it through organization, some people do it through painting. I think the biggest, if you want to talk about art, the biggest artistic project that you could achieve is to have a family. If you can raise a good family, this is a gigantic art project that happens forever and ever, and you can't turn away from it no matter what you want to do.
How are you treating the people around you? What living condition are you in? Are you healthy? Are you exercising? First deal with that. Deal with that and then worry about the fucking kid in Africa. First deal with that thing and you'll get get your focus back. Come out of autopilot first, because your ego will tell you like, look man, we've got to think about the big picture. The ego always wants to think about the big fucking picture. The ego always wants to think about like, the ego is messianic. The ego wants to be Jesus. The ego wants to heal the world, or the ego wants to fucking do all this crazy shit. Meanwhile, you're fucking smoking cigarettes, your apartment smells like cat litter, your balls are fucking festering with crab lice. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You gotta fucking think about the fucking moment. You gotta think about the moment.
Life is a simulation, and it's a simulation for your own benefit. You live in a future, a sexless future where people take orgasm pills, and most breeding is done through some sort of a genetic manipulation where you just fucking recreate people in laboratories, and there's no sex, there's no meat, you don't eat steak, you don't talk, you use your brain. And it's beautiful, and we've organized and basically evolved past the point of physical violence and pleasure and all sorts of different things that are essentially just tricks of genetics. Okay. But it's boring. No one's getting their dick sucked. The music's fucking terrible. You can't go out and get a good steak. So we have decided to encase our consciousness in a simulation. And the simulation is we are in the roaring 20s of the technology age. We live back in a time where things were crazy.
So we're the Matrix, but we got to pay for patches.
Exactly. Okay. We're paying, that's part of the fun of it all, is that everything is corrupt and ridiculous. Part of the fun of a Batman movie is the fact there's bad guys. Okay. Part of the fun of our life is the fact that we do live in this ridiculously corrupt society. Yeah. When you raise your voice and you stand up and you tell people this is fucking bullshit, that does feel good. It's part of the game. It's all part of the fun. And reality, it doesn't matter at all. You're a simulation, and you probably will never die. You will live in this simulation, and it will fucking black out one day, and you wake up in the middle of a fucking some sort of a forest fire with your friends, and you're working in the blazing heat trying to put out this fire, and that's your real life, because you woke up in some new reality, and then it's going to keep going on and on and
table
on.
Licking salt.
Yeah, it'll go on forever. There's no ending. You don't get a break. You don't get to sit behind the pearly gates someday and reminisce and try to figure out if it all went the way you wanted it to, and well, next time I'm going to come back as a baby. No, it's just one big thing that never ends.
Believing that doesn't make me feel like my plantar fasciitis is going to heal quicker.
Well, you got to put yourself in a different state of mind.
Not that I have it.
You got to decide with your mind, because that's how you control this video game. You got to decide with your mind to be the hero in your own story. What I tell people is the best advice that I've ever heard, it's the best advice I ever came up with, is that live your life like you're the hero in your movie. And right now is when the fucking movie starts and your life is a shitbag disaster, like every fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he wakes up and makes a blender full of pizza and ice cream, and that's what he, you know what I mean? Those guys were like on the brink, they put the gun in their mouth and they put it down because they see a photo of their daughter. Pretend that's you. Pretend you are, right now, you are in the part of the movie that starts and it shows you as a fucking loser. And just decide not to be a loser anymore. Live your life like there's a documentary crew following you around and you are analyzing your own behavior. Do what you would want to do so that your kids one day would look back at it and see that documentary and look on it with pride. Like, wow, my dad was a bad motherfucker. He really did what he had to do. Wow, my mom really got her shit together. I love a success story, but even more than a success story, I like a dude who fucks his life up and then gets it back together again story. Those are my favorite stories. And the way to do that, you gotta write shit down. You gotta think that you are the hero in your own fucking movie, and then you gotta sit down and you gotta write shit down. Write down what you need to do.
Most people play the role of the victim in the movie, right?
Sure. Yeah, this life is fucking me over, man. I could have had this and I should have had that. And why does this guy get that? And why does that guy get this? And all things that are completely unrelated to you. Yeah. All things that you find other people's success is a downfall in your own existence. Instead of being inspired, instead of choosing to be positive, instead of like improving constantly on the direction of trying to achieve whatever the fuck you have written down, you just sit around and spiral. You know, there's nothing more miserable than sitting around somebody that's fucking complaining all the time. It's one of the most annoying things ever. Everybody hates it when someone just sits around and they complain about their life and they don't do jack shit about it. And you tiptoe around it. You don't know what to say. Well, she gets upset when you bring that up. I don't want to bring that up. And you want to go, you fucking crazy bitch. You know what's wrong with your life. Stop announcing it to everybody else and go out and fix that shit. That's tough love. Tough love is what everybody needs, me included. A part of you is like, fuck you, who the fuck you? But you feel bad if things are correct. You feel bad if someone nails you. You'll feel bad if you really did. If you didn't do anything wrong and someone acts like a cunt, it's just like they look like a crazy person. Like, but you have to be able to have that honest assessment of yourself, and the only way you can do that is you're taking account of yourself all day long. You're taking account. You're writing down what the fuck you need to do. You're doing it. You have a mindset that you want to maintain throughout the day. Don't let the world maintain your mindset. You choose what mindset that you are going to maintain. And I fucking do that for sure.
That's it.
This, I think, is the recipe for a true revolution. The recipe for a true revolution does not involve going out into the world and trying to attack these ancient, powerful, monolithic structures by throwing Molotov cocktails at them. It fucking involves stopping, looking at the way you're treating the people directly around you. How do you treat waiters? How do you treat people at the cash register? How do you treat people that you have power over, even if the power is illusionary and it's just a game? Because when you're with a waiter, you're playing the game of someone being served, they're playing the game of the server. You're just fucking people.
Right.
But you start looking, how am I treating the people around? First, you start looking, how am I treating myself? That's the number one thing.
Yeah, that is the number one thing.
Look at yourself. Are you being empathetic to yourself? Are you being sweet to yourself? Are you taking vitamins? Are you being cruel to yourself? Are you poisoning yourself? Are you shoving poison into your body? First deal with that. Then, once you start feeling good and healthy again, the depression will start wearing off, and then you start looking at the way you're treating people around you. Imagine if you cut out 10% of your income and just put it in a pile and made the decision that 10% you're going to just fucking give to people who need it. You're just going to give it to help people. You're going to use it to help people. That's 10% of your income is going out into the world to help people. That would be your favorite money. That fucking 10%. Like on a Saturday, if you get to go into that account and be like, fuck man, I'm gonna buy my friend an Xbox. Just because. Because that's coming out of the 10%.
That's a cool thing. That's a good idea, man.
Everybody thinks it's like, oh, I'm gonna go give a ham sandwich to a heroin addict. No. Go fucking surprise your friend. Take him out to dinner. And then fucking buy dinner when they didn't expect it. Take one of your friends out who doesn't have a lot of money right now and do something really cool for them when they don't expect it, and don't act like they owe you. Just like, no, dude, I just thought it'd be fun.
There are only two human emotions, love and fear. All other emotions stem either directly or indirectly from these two base emotions. But fear is an illusion created by this reality, because all that truly exists within the singularity is love. That's all there is, and love is all there can possibly be, because there is only one. There is only the singularity. So how can there be any other emotion at all? Indeed, how can there even be any concept of emotion? Within the singularity there exists only the singularity, and the singularity is love. There is nothing else, and this love is not perceived as emotion, it just is. There is only love. It's being aware of this singularity that allows true understanding to occur. And people ask, well, what can I do to help myself become more aware of this singularity? And the answer is to live in love yourself. And when I say live in love, again, I'm not talking about the television version of love. I'm not saying that we all put flowers in our hair and sit around singing songs. I'm talking about real love, true empathy, and real understanding for all.
I don't know how anybody could be bored with any of this stuff. It's mind-boggling. It's some people it's a little unsettling because they like to think that this is where I get my coffee in the morning. Right. Hey, Marge, how are you, Marge? You know, meanwhile, Marge is strapped to a fucking giant rock going 1,000 miles an hour in a circle.
Thank you. Right.
Marge is hanging out in space.
Right.
I mean, the Earth is not connected to anything. It's just floating out there.
It's floating and spinning
like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Spinning 1,000 miles an hour around a giant nuclear explosion.
That's right.
A big, constant nuclear explosion that will eventually die.
Thank you.
It's bizarre as fuck.
Yeah.
Why do we like mundane things? What is the
well, there's something comfortable in the prosaic, because the world at large can be overwhelming to all of us. I mean, those videos are overwhelming. A psychedelic trip is overwhelming. I mean, a big city can be overwhelming. And I think that some people thrive in the spaces in which they're overwhelmed, and some people prefer to cower away from it due to circumstances in their lives, culture, preconceptions, choices that they make. And ultimately, I think I don't think we do well to judge anybody for how they choose to live. I think that what you do is you try to do what you can to share many different ideas and many points of views, and they'll find the astonishment that they like best and partake, hopefully, in that one.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride, and we kill those people. Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride. And we can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace. Thank you very much. You've been great. I hope you enjoyed it. London, you're fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everything is connected and everything matters. There is not an atom in our bodies that has not been forged in the furnace of the sun. Now, isn't that cool?